Great. And when we talk about blockchain, I guess data is another topic that we cannot avoid. And now today we're going to have Chu from ZettaBlock, as well as William from Chainlink, and Scott from Space and Time to share with us some of the Web3 data use cases and the outlook of the field.
Hey, we should start. Hello, guys. Thanks for taking the time on this panel. And the topic today is the future of smart contract and data scaling. So to kick off the conversations, probably we can do a very quick self-intro to everybody and share your experience. I'll start from myself. I'm the moderator of this panel. My name is Chi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called ZettaBlock. We are building an institutional-grade, fully managed data infra platform for Web3. And happy to, moderate this panel. Next is Scott.
Hey everyone, great to be here. Thanks for HashKey for making this happen. Scott Dykstra, CTO and co-founder of Space and Time, a ZK data warehouse to provide provide query results to smart contracts with ZK proofs. And we do a lot of work with Chainlink, and we also are kind of focused in the indexing space similar to ZettaBlock, so it's great to be here with some friends.
Thanks, Scott. Hello, everybody. William Reilly with Chainlink Labs, currently head of centralized finance strategic partnerships. Been in the DeFi space since around 2016 and been ultimately a DeFi champion since I found DeFi. So great to be up here with esteemed colleagues such as ZettaBlock in Space and Time, and look forward to talking about some data today.
Awesome. So given that the topic today is the future of smart contract and data scaling, I would love to kick off the conversations with the keyword scaling. So as probably a lot of people sit here know that Web3 data is growing so fast in terms of its velocity and scale, obviously due to multiple reasons like multi-chain and also like a high through TPS chain and so on and so forth. So given that, what's your perspective on the type of solutions that should be built to deal with this type of a scale, especially when it comes to the factors, considering the factors like latency, speed, and even like the data source fragmentations, because there's so many new chains happening right now. So.
Yeah, great question. So really when it comes to data aggregation and accessibility, it starts at the very forefront of the data supply chain. Ultimately, this is happening more often than not on the blockchains themselves. And to achieve accessibility in a way where you can provide real-time computation that becomes valuable, you really need to rely on services such as what you guys are doing at ZettaBlock and Space and Time, indexing blockchain data in a way that's digestible and can be performed with real-time compute is an invaluable service. After that, it's getting that valuable data that's been computed and placed back on the blockchain. And this is where oracles come into play. This is what we do best at Chainlink. And to really exhibit a higher level of accessibility and real-time, lower latency oracle data distribution, we've been really focused on new and novel oracle architecture, such as off-chain oracles, which really enable on-demand and pull-based distribution to chains. This allows for data to be delivered on demand versus a consistent streaming model that's dictated on a time-based condition or maybe a threshold of deviations.
When we first started building in this space about 3 years ago, we were kind of shocked that smart contracts aren't actually that smart. And that's part of why Chainlink is building so many services to make smart contracts smarter and deliver data to them. The problem with smart contracts is they don't have access to basic questions about activity on chain. A smart contract in the EVM can't answer a question as basic as show me all wallets that have transacted with this liquidity pool and have a balance of at least 1,000 link. That's a simple question that can be answered with a very simple SQL query, but on chain, the smart contracts cannot do that today. Now, take that a step further. What if you want to build more sophisticated DeFi, data-driven DeFi protocols, new financial instruments on chain? they're going to need access to on-chain history and aggregated information about price feeds, about implied volatility, about interest rates, about swaps, lending rates, you name it. Data-driven DeFi will be the next wave and probably usher in the next bull run if we're completely honest. The question that was posed is about scale. How do we scale to index entire copies of the chain, both the current state in real time and the historical state in a verifiable way? So what Space and Time's focused on is basically indexing data in a verifiable way and then providing ZK proofs against the queries against that index data at scale against entire copies of the chain state. So a smart contract on Polygon can ask questions about Aave or compound rates over from Arbitrum.
So that's actually a great summary of what we consider that, even from ZettaBlock perspective, we agree with the data accessibility, the data verifiability, and the scalability of the solutions that should be built to make Web3 data usable. And actually, just to add on top of that, another thing we think very important as a solution to be built is definitely how to make the developer experience very simple when it comes to building API that supports the next generation applications like next gen DeFi, next gen gaming company, gaming protocols, and so on and so forth. So how to actually aggregate all those data sources from different data sources like different chain and even off-chain data, and make the data extremely after aggregation, extremely accessible in real time and even like high concurrency perspective to end users, to millions users that will be adopted from Web2 is another thing we consider very important in this space. But this is a great starting point. Now I would love to dive into a little bit more into the vertical, like specific verticals and industries that we're focusing right now. So from Will, your perspective, you're the head of CeFi at Chainlink. So what is the observed tech trends and data use cases that you see happening in TreeFi, in the CeFi, TradFi, and the DeFi industry? And obviously, Scott as well.
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of trends in CeFi and the crossover with DeFi is really more permission DeFi or behavior-focused actions in DeFi. And really what that means is they really want to understand who they're providing services to on-chain and what they're allowing based upon a reputation score or a behavior score. You can think it's very similar to credit scores or how well you're actually engaging and if you're doing it in a proper way on certain chains. Now, this also becomes rather expansive when you really want to enable a certain type of behavior or allow somebody that has a very high score of credibility on one chain, but possibly has maybe less than actions on another chain. You need to be able to aggregate that with a cross-chain solution. Now, what you can do is you can take, a query, as you kind of described with Space and Time, to really understand the behavior that a certain wallet is taking and have that attached to their behavior on a destination chain. This really allows a centralized finance institute to behave in a regulated manner, as most of them are within the boundaries, but they really still want to enable DeFi actions for their use cases. And this is the current trend that I'm seeing with a lot of centralized finance players today.
Yeah, I think if we're generating a ZK proof against queried indexed data, the question kind of becomes who verifies that proof, right? In the context of CeFi and what institutions are doing around verifiable data to power centralized exchanges. In that case, often these proofs are verified off-chain, either on Chainlink nodes themselves, or with a client library actually verified in centralized servers by a centralized exchange. So imagine this future where we're indexing data in real time with extremely high concurrency into some kind of ZK verified data warehouse, whether that's an indexer from an incredible solution like ZettaBlock or an indexer from the community, but running on ZK proven data warehouse, and then providing proofs of the execution of the queries against that data back to either a smart contract on-chain to facilitate DeFi, or back to a client device or a client server on a centralized exchange to facilitate basically verifiable CeFi, if you will, pseudo DeFi CeFi, or ideally on Chainlink nodes themselves to be handed to either a smart contract or directly to a centralized exchange. The challenge is, of course, the sheer magnitude, the sheer volume of data that's coming in. We built an indexer in Python initially, realized, oh my gosh, this is way too much data. We rewrote our indexer in Rust just to keep up.
Awesome. So thanks for sharing the observations in CeFi and DeFi. How about in gaming? How about in gaming industry?
Yeah, I think gaming's great. I really want to hear what Scott has to think about gaming, because you guys are doing some really interesting stuff over at Space and Time with gaming. Sure.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, with gaming, it's a lot different. It's about the intersection of off-chain and on-chain data. Off-chain, in-game telemetry from the gaming servers. What did the player do in-game to earn rewards on-chain? You need a comprehensive view of the on-chain activity, like an NFT mint, and the in-game activity, like Scott just won a game, Scott should get a reward for winning. How does a smart contract reward a gamer knowing that the gamer has 2 hours of playtime, 1 win under their belt, and they've minted the NFT? A smart contract needs to ask that question. Show me all gamer wallet addresses that meet this set of accolades. For example, 2 hours of playtime, a reward on chain, etc. So what we're doing is we're kind of creating a single view of all the data. Off-chain gaming servers streaming into Space and Time with in-game telemetry, and then on-chain NFT mints also coming into Space and Time, so that a smart contract on a major chain can say, hey, show me all players that meet this criteria, I'll give them a reward. And that can be done in a centralized or fully decentralized way. The last thing I'll say, shouts out to Chainlink, is like, how do we get these query results back to a smart contract on chain? How does a smart contract raise its hand and say, hey, Chainlink, give me a list of players that meet these criteria? Chainlink can act as a medium to grab that data from Space and Time, verify it, and then send it back to a dApp developer, game developer, smart contract. Does that make sense?
Really makes perfect sense. And then to kind of double down on that, what we've been focused on and working on at Chainlink outside of working closely together with Space and Time on the great efforts that you guys are doing around gaming, is enabling a cross-chain gaming environment, a multi-chain world where games are spread across different chains, but you can take everything that you've built and all that time that you've been rewarded for on one chain and bring it to another chain and still have value there as well.
That's again very insightful observation. And one more thing, actually, beyond what just Scott and Will mentioned. One thing I think also very important in the gaming space we see in terms of data demand is to really have the real-time data. Because as a user experience, that is so critical to do, for example, shooting game, you want to see all those notifications in real time, and to users, having the real-time data showed up to the screen is like super important to them. So that's why probably I'll go to one of the last questions. How do you see the new set of data infra tool that will potentially unlock the new use cases when it comes to the data become more and more real time with solutions like Space and Time, Chainlink, and obviously ZettaBlock provided to the space?
Yeah, I mean, real-time data distribution is really going to enable a myriad of use cases, not just from gaming, but also for finance, where we can allow for real-time settlement, cross-chain or cross-border payments. And really that's what we've been focused on with a couple new products coming to market with our cross-chain interoperability protocol, really allowing data to be distributed across chains and done in a way where we can do it with low latency data oracle pools. And then
yeah, and I'll summarize with this, like all of these use cases, whether it's in cross-chain gaming, whether it's in more sophisticated data-driven DeFi, whether it's in CeFi and providing data to centralized exchanges to power verifiable price feeds, it all kind of comes down to like, we need some view of the chain state off-chain that we can process. Chainlink oracles coming to consensus off-chain. Space and time indexing in a verifiable way and generating ZK proofs off-chain. And then proving that back on-chain, whether that's on Ethereum as a settlement layer for these proofs or on side chains as a real-time sort of, much faster block time for these proofs. ZettaBlocks is indexing this data off-chain and providing a way to query it. Space and time is verifiably indexing and providing a way to do ZK proofs that are verified on-chain. And Chainlink is coming to consensus for us off-chain on these proofs. So it kind of creates this two-way street between indexing data from the chain, verifiably processing it, and then sending results back to the chain or back to the centralized exchange.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the great panel. And I think we're running out of time already. So any last sentence you guys want to deliver to the audience?
I just really want to thank everybody for having us out, and thank you for hosting a fantastic panel.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, HashKey.